Here we go. Testing. Can you hear me? Anybody out there? This is G and Taffy. Yes, we got Taffy down here. You can't see her. I'm sure she'll be popping her head up in a second to visit. But this week, we are going to take a look at the chart for January 22nd. January 22nd, 2024. We have a couple of things popping up here on our radar. We're going to talk about Venus, which is our values and our money, and it represents feminine energy and love and desires. And we think of security. We think of creature comforts when we think of Venus energy. We're also going to talk about Mercury, which is the news and information and talking and social media and however you consume your news. Some people turn on the radio. Snail mail. We're going to talk about Mercury. Mercury clearing its shadow zone this week. Yeah, clearing the shadow zone, the retrograde shadow zone. So that's good news. And then we're going to talk about Mars. Yes, Mars is going to be a factor this week. We're going to talk about that. We're going to also talk about a full moon that happens this week. So there's a few things that we're going to dip into here. And let's just pull up the chart so that we can see what I'm talking about. We are looking at, I already said it, but we'll say it one more time in case you're just joining us. This is the week of January 22nd. So here we are. Everyone's, we've had some cold temperatures, right? Across the United States. The whole country had some cold temperatures, I think about a week ago. Well, while I'm recording this video, I'm trying to put it into context for the time that you're watching the video. But yes, so at this time, if you look at the chart, we've got some dates on here. And we're going to start there because I think dates is an easy way to look at it and to understand things without getting too crazy with the angles, because I'll talk about the angles. I'll talk about, what all these meetups mean. So to start off with, you got Venus. And that's what the symbol of Venus looks like. All right, so I've got her there, and that's on the 22nd. So those are the dates you see there, right? We got Venus on the 22nd. We got Mercury on the 23rd. We got Mars and the South Node. Then on the 24th, we're going to talk about the Sun and Jupiter. And then for the 25th, we're going to be talking about the Moon, right? Full moon on the 25th. Spoiler alert, right? The video should have already been up for that, for the deep dive on that. I'll link it below so that you go watch that, because I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time. But in the video, I go deep dive on that. And that gives you more information to find out what it'll mean for you in your chart, if that's a thing for you. So let's go find Venus, because that's where we're at. We're starting off at the 22nd. And by the way, January 22nd, happy birthday to G's mom today. Yes, happy birthday. So her last birthday, she was already in the hospital at this time. She got into the hospital, I don't know, a few days before her birthday, spent her birthday in the hospital. And well, it's been a long journey since then, but she, at this time of this recording, is home and is just taking it day by day and doing what 85-year-olds do to get by. And as the words from my mother, old age is not for wimps. Just some wisdom to pass on. Real quick here, I want to make this mention about Pluto and the Sun. I have the date right there. You can see it. It's January 20th. Pluto and the Sun enter Aquarius pretty much together. I addressed this in the weeks before video, the week prior. And so I just wanted to give a quick reminder about that here, because in the rest of the video, I do not mention it. I realized as I was editing, I don't make any notes on the paper about it, but I think it's important to weave it into the rest of the meaning of the video, so keep that in mind. I will add a little segment towards the end to kind of wrap all of this up together. Just remember, like, the keywords for Pluto and the Sun and the videos that I have up, and I'll link one or two of those below. We've been talking about this for a while now, because, well, it's a thing, and it's not going away for a long time, right? 20 years of Pluto and Aquarius. But also I have Hermes marked here because Hermes at the same time. Yeah, it's really wild. It's like Pluto entered on the 20th, and then like on the 21st, the Sun and Hermes together entered Aquarius energy. So it's really fascinating considering Aquarius energy can be surprises and the Sun can be authority figures, and Pluto is all about the power and change, deep changes on a very deep level. All right, so let's get back to the regularly scheduled video. So with that, Venus. We're going to talk about Venus for a second here because she's at a critical degree. Okay? 2856. So 29 degrees, that means that she's at. She's just about there, right? Because this goes to 60 and bam, 29 critical degree. And normally, because there's other things happening in the chart, we're going to likely notice this at this degree on Monday. And you might have even have heard something rumblings in the news, possibly even a day or two before, because Mercury at the 10-degree mark here is beyond her shadow zone mark. Okay. And normally when that happens, we hear about things. And so this whole thing has been for the past, like, what is it? I want to say 8 weeks. Mercury got to this degree, got between the 8 and the 10-degree mark of Capricorn, went into a retrograde. And then we were like, oh, crap, things are confusing. I'm changing my mind. Mercury goes backwards to get information and gets the information. Went back to Saggy, at, I believe it was, I want to say 22 degrees, and then went forward. And the job of Mercury was to collect the information. And so in Saggy, she would have been searching for the truth, finding the wisdom, but looking for the details that add up to the truth, right? The minutia, that's Mercury, the details. I keep track of the figures, of the numbers, of the statistics. Think of the statistician. And when you think of Mercury, someone who's also the scribe and the writer. We think of calendars and organizing. We think of sharing the information that I have collected, right? So when we go back to Saggy, we think of rulings, we think of judgments, we think of the judicial system, we think of the judicial branch of governments, we think of the Supreme Court. And man, the United States has been busy, busy. And so a lot of things coming out in the news, Mercury, the news, the media, the social media. This is a coworker or neighbor sibling energy, next door neighbors, even peers, right? And I'm filling all this in while I'm talking about Venus because this is what we're talking about. The Mercury is the mind. It is the talking. It is the conversations that are going on about what we value. Venus. You see, you have to weave everything together. Now, Capricorn, we have to talk about that. This is big boss energy. This is corporations. This is businesses. This is government. Likely layoffs because we're looking at the numbers, right? So there already were some layoffs, and maybe some of those had to do with tech and technology because that's Mercury. It's news, it's business, but it's like its higher octave is Uranus, which is technology. So we think of the tech sector. We think of social platforms. We think of, oh, I don't know, big ones like Google and, like those big names, right? And so there may have been something, even if it wasn't layoffs, just news of. Here's the thing I want to kind of expand upon this right here for a minute. Remember in the past when we were talking about Uranus and everyone's all concerned, right? What's going to happen? We've got this AI coming in. What the hell is going to happen? And surely people are going to be losing jobs. And what's going to happen? And it was like, wait a minute. There are jobs that don't exist yet that are going to exist, right? And when AI comes into the play and has a seat at the table, it's like, okay, so now all of a sudden we're free to do something we didn't do before. And so I might have to create, there might be jobs that are created that literally weren't there before. So there may be like a reshuffling, even though for some it's like, but I was told I was laid off. I was told this department doesn't exist anymore. And that can be, whereas some companies might literally just shift people and think of coworkers, Mercury, right? And businesses and corporations, right? And is it fair? Is it, are we thinking long term? Are we thinking futuristic? Because Saggy is all about, I'm thinking way into the future, right? Thinking into the future as far as I'm almost like a prophet. Like I can see the systems and the big picture and how it's all going to work, right? Capricorn then says, well, let's make it a rule. Let's set up these goals and the structure within this business or within the home or the family, whatever it is, and let's build something, right? Let's build something. So when you have Mars there, you're building and you're thinking long term, but you want to kind of establish order. And anytime Mars is around, it's physical action. It can represent those who carry weapons. So many times these can be somebody who is part of the military, right? Because it's organized, it's structured, it works for the government. The military, Mars in Capricorn. And Mars does really good in Capricorn. It's serious, it's a diligent worker, it's thinking long term, it's thinking, okay, no more games. I have to get to the business here. I have to stick to the rules. And if I already stated the rules, and if you didn't follow the rules, I am the enforcer. Mars in Capricorn, you see? So these might be things we're hearing about, and it may be connected to that which we value. So, what do you value, right? When we think of what we value in Sagittarius, traveling. Remember, I'm always saying this can be something that has to do with land. I'm sorry, water. Don't know why land came out. Actually, I wanted to say, actually, I'm just going to share what was in my brain really fast. All four: land, boat, sea, air, like all of that really fast just came in. That it's not just about valuing. It is going to, because sometimes we say air flight, right? But I know it can be on the water because it's Jupiter. So this is water energy, right? And then boating, possibly. And then, well, Venus represents Taurus energy, which can be the commodities, right? Our values. Don't mess with my values. And so, sure, we already heard stuff about that, right? But then what else, right? Right? What else can it be? The airlines, because that can also represent me going on vacation, right? And so I value this. And possibly there being, there's always a hiccup. There's always a delay, especially if there's a weather thing. But what about major airlines who had, oh, I don't know, somebody's door flew off or a hole came open on a flight, right? And so there might be something that occurs, maybe legislation, maybe something. Oh, I don't know, something that is has to do with the government and like, wow, maybe there should be parameters or fines or something enforced where we can ensure the safety regulations. That's this energy regulations. So far, this is all maybe kind of boring, depending upon where you work and where you live, or maybe it makes a lot of sense and is totally applicable to your life. Hopefully, it is. But this is to give you the idea and the feeling of what's going on this week, what we're talking about, where we're seeing action in our lives, and why we even ourselves may feel more disciplined with our physical bodies. Mars is your physical body. Let's keep in mind Mars can also be inflammation. Let's keep that in mind. That's important to know because sometimes we may have swelling and inflammation, and we're like, "Oh my God, where's this coming from? Why all of a sudden?" And that happens, right? I'm sorry, uh, Capricorn energy. Sorry, Capricorn energy can very much be the spine. We think of the hard parts of the body. It's firm, it's hard, it's cold, it's order and structure. So we think of the spine, right? The lifeline of the body. But that spine is like the bony, right? With the vertebrae in there. And yeah, like that's very important. It protects the spinal cord. And so the spine being the lifeline. And so sometimes back injuries and stuff like that, because it's Mars in Capricorn, in Capricorn. And then what else do we got? We got other lines. Let's go take a look. Who is Venus aspecting? You see that I don't have any lines actually drawn from Venus. But what do I have? I have lines, lots of lines that you can see drawn here, right? You see I got a red line and I've got 3 purple lines. Just so we're clear, those purple lines are squares. I put that red line over it so that I can remember these are squares. So let's go look at the timeline. Let's go look at the dates to get a better idea. Okay, we can already see it's to the Aries energy because Capricorn energy, which is what we got here, all this is Cappy. We've got quite a bit in Capricorn. It's cardinal. So cardinal squares cardinal. Well, what's cardinal in the chart that's going to square? Cardinal energy is Libra, and Aries. And we have a lot over there in Aries. Let's go take a peek. Yeah. You didn't see Taffy, but you can hear her now. Now she's at the door and is like, I hear somebody with a spoon against a bowl and I should be out there. And she's going to have to wait. So here we go. We've got Chiron at 15 degrees, 1546, and the node at 19. This matters because Mars and Mercury are angling up. Mars is already at 13 and Mercury's a fast mover. So in a day like tomorrow, the 23rd, the 24th, what do I have on my chart? I have that Mercury and Mars are going to be conjunct and at the same time squaring the north and the south node. Okay? So what's interesting about this is we have been waiting. We've been waiting for Mercury to get beyond the shadow zone. Okay? And now Mercury is beyond that. So let's take a jump. Let's back up a little bit and go look. You see the red line right there that I have drawn in. I've got this red line drawn in from Mars and Mercury to this node and up here. Okay? I actually have it drawn to Chiron first. And I can actually draw another red line in real quick going to the node because that's going to happen this week. With Mercury, Mars isn't as fast of a mover, but Mercury will absolutely square the north and the south node, which creates a T-square. Yes. Now, a T-square is stress and tension. There's some friction here, right? We got a square going this way and a square going this way. We got Zoe outside the door having fun. And Taffy's like, what the hell? I'm stuck in this room. So South Node Square, our past, what happened in the past? With equality, with our rights. This is the courtroom. It's the Lady Justice. It's the scales of justice. Lawyers. What happened in the past, right? Mercury squaring this. There's been a lot of lawyers in the news lately, a lot of them. And a lot of them are sitting in the United States Congress as we speak. Some of them are, I don't know. I don't know where they're hanging out, but they had prominent positions at one time. And so we have a lot of difficult energy coming because this is Mars and Mercury squaring up with these north and the south node. Or you could say this north and this south node. By the way, this is the south and this is the north node. And they are going to be squaring Mars and Mercury. Now, in the U.S., at the recording of this video, trying to get a bill passed. Did they get the bill passed? It was to prevent a government shutdown. There's friction here. There's friction here. However, what I will say is the promising thing in this chart is Jupiter, because all this energy we have in Earth, and it's in Capricorn, and it's serious, it's disciplined, it knows how to build for long term, it's got goals. This is all trining Taurus energy. We got Jupiter up there, right? So what we have here is Mercury and Mars already trined Jupiter already. And why do I say already? Because they're like at 10, 11, 12, 13. And look at Jupiter is sitting over here. Jupiter is sitting over here at 6 degrees. You see this? This is Jupiter right here at 6. So what does that do then? Is Jupiter even part of the equation anymore? Jupiter is part of the equation because we have some other things in Earth coming in. Remember Venus at 29 degrees in Sagittarius down there? She's going to step into Capricorn shortly. And when she steps into Capricorn, she's going to start to trine Jupiter. Right. And that is going to happen. Venus is not as fast as Mercury, so it might not be until the 25th, right? Where Venus is getting close enough to be aspecting and having a nice Jupiter trine, okay? So before I go there, I want to mention that we do see Uranus here at 19, which means that Mercury and Mars the following week, and you'll see the video. I'll have another video up for that, but the following week, right? So that's the 29th, right? January 29th video, right? The end of the month. Holy crap. We're going to have Mercury first and then Mars trining Taurus, Uranus in Taurus, which is surprises. And we already had a surprise this recent week. We had Bitcoin being accepted for an ETF, which, well, depending upon how you all feel about that, some people are happy about it, and some people are like, I don't believe this. This is craziness, right? But either way, um, getting back to Mercury and Mars and the 23rd and the 24th, and Mercury now out of the retrograde shadow zone, this is going forward. We have forward momentum here. We have things stabilizing because it's Mars and Mercury in Capricorn with Jupiter holding the fort in Taurus, stabilizing energy. Remember, Taurus wants peace. Taurus wants peace. And I know that's might be crazy for me to use that word in a time in our world where it seems like everywhere we turn, there's like wars going on. And let's be clear on the chart. Let me change my color so I can point how some of that occurs in a realistic way for you, where you're like, oh, Aries energy. I started the video talking about Chiron. And so we're kind of gonna go back to that. Mercury and Mars squaring Chiron. At the beginning of this week, they're in a tight square with Chiron. And this is people fighting possibly because it's Aries and that's the fighter. Mars rules this sign. The warrior. Mars is the fighter, I'll say. I won't say the warrior. I liken the warrior to Scorpio energy. So there's a Mars that rules Aries, and then there's a Mars that rules Scorpio, meaning Scorpio's got the history and the experience. There's a big difference. Big, big difference. Um, Chiron is the wounds of my body. The wounds of my body, because it's in Aries, wounds from the past. So there's a lot of things that have to do with past wounds that are being fueled right now and that are irritating, agitating, and adding more wood to a fire that's already going when you have Mars here exactly squaring Chiron. And it's governments because it's Mars in Capricorn. And if you pay attention to world affairs, I don't have to name names or even, government or locations. You can piece it all together. You know what I'm talking about. But that is this energy. It squares all of Aries because it's cardinal energy. And Capricorn is cardinal. And cardinal squares cardinal, which means it's also squaring the south node, the past. Again, the past comes up. There's a lot of stuff happening, stress and tension associated with the past. Plug in those keywords, the past, things being equal and fair and balanced and civil liberties and people having equal rights. It's all over the place and it's being tested and it's being checked. It's saying, hey, wait a minute, damn it. This has been going on like this for too long. And so there's a lot of friction and stress and tension. And unfortunately, people not only being displaced, but people dying, people suffering, people starving. And this is it's a nightmare. I don't know what other word to use. It's a nightmare. I don't wanna be living in that. I'm not in it, and I don't wanna be in it, and I wouldn't want anyone else to have to live the way people are living right now. Now, here's a little segment right here. The experience. We have Pallas Athena, who is a female general in Scorpio. Here's the experience and the wisdom I was talking about. In Scorpio, very powerful, with Sappho, 2 females in Scorpio. These are warriors. These are female warriors, all right? They have the benefit right now because they're at 25, 22, and 25, which means they're trining Neptune, which means Neptune is trining them. These are not fast movers. None of these are fast movers. Neptune on this chart, let me go blue, is over here. Here's Neptune. You see that? 25, 25, 30. Okay. So I got Neptune at 25, and we look over here and look. Pallas Athena and Sappho conjunct 22 and 25, trining Neptune, the water energy. It's spiritual energy, but it's deep. It's got emotions from the past. It's got history, And there's the ability for healing whenever Scorpio is involved. And we also have Humea here, which I love. Having Humea being part of the healing process is wonderful. Humea is somebody who comes in to heal, to take something that's been just destroyed and where there was destruction. It's the Hawaiian goddess, and she kind of waves her wand and she kind of says, let's, there's going to be growth here. So we think Phoenix rising with the Scorpio energy. Some people say, yeah, it's kind of it's kind of like the butterfly, right? It changes. It doesn't die, but it changes the way it looks. Okay? And it lifts itself up, rises out of the ashes and flies. That sounds wonderful. It sounds very idealistic. It sounds Hollywood, right? But the point is that every battle, hopefully, we're coming out in some way smarter. And having the two Venuses and Pallas Athena, the female general, trining Neptune. They are supported by Neptune. Hopefully, this we have some sort of support and a package, some sort of an aid package, possibly, very possibly, that can help people who are suffering. And I'm normally totally against, not help your neighbor. Like, why do you have to leave this country to go help people? There are people suffering here, right? However, when democracy is at stake, right? When democracy itself is at stake, we need to step it up because United States is also having a battle for democracy within its own country. So a win in democracy anywhere is a win for democracy everywhere. Wait a minute. Let's go to the 24th. I have the sun and Jupiter. Right. Say, hey, G, you missed something. The sun squaring Jupiter. That's what I have here. That's a square. That is the sun squaring Jupiter. And we're going to go find that. We know Jupiter is in Taurus. So what would square Taurus? Let me draw Jupiter in one more time because my Jupiter looks, we can say drunk because it's the wine. It's the substances. It's in Taurus, so it thinks food, it thinks things that are good, but it's also money. I might satisfy myself with money. Maybe some of you have found that you've been nurturing yourself by buying material, tangible things, or the idea of having more money, or something in your life that makes you feel more stable and more secure and more at peace. Okay. Jupiter in Taurus will trigger that for you. So what will square that? Two things can square Taurus. That would be Leo energy and Aquarius energy. Yeah, Leo and Aquarius. So we're just going to keep it for the sake of it at blue, just so that you can see it, even though it is a square and it should be red. We're going to go down here by the Aquarius because there's a lot of energy there. And yes, this week, it already happened on the last week's chart, and I already talked about it. We have Pluto in Aquarius. And this Pluto in Aquarius is already at 0 degrees and 2 minutes. Let's be clear. I have a lot of people commenting, this Pluto does not go beyond 2 degrees in the year 2024. It doesn't go beyond 2 degrees. And anytime you're looking at Pluto and you want to see if it's angling or aspecting in any way, having a conversation with something in your chart, the minutes really matter. All right. So for those of you who have something at 2 degrees and 20 minutes, don't worry. Pluto's going to stop. It's going to get to 2. It's going to retrograde and go backwards. All right. So you have a little bit of time before that happens. But for those of us who have something at 0 and 1, right, or a high 1, almost 2 degrees, Pluto's going to have a conversation. It is not having a conversation with Pluto right now because it's at 0 degrees. But what will be? The sun. The sun moves fast. It moves 1 degree a day. So it's already starting to angle and square by the 24th. The sun is somebody in charge. Jupiter would be the judge, or somebody who is also, because it's Jupiter, so it's a ruling that's coming across. It's Jupiter. It's somebody who passes judgment. Now, thinking Jupiter and judgments and ruling and the sun, Aquarius energy, there can be a surprise involved. Something can be shocking and surprising. Right. And we also have to realize that at the same time that this happens, remember what I started talking about in the beginning, how Mercury was going to move and be conjunct Mars, and they were going to literally move together hand in hand. So by the 24th and the 25th, they're already together. Mercury and Mars are sitting here while the sun in Aquarius shocks and surprises. I'm an authority figure, and then Jupiter squaring it. This may have something to do with finances because it's Jupiter in Taurus. So this could have to do with someone who's in charge of the financials for the US, like the Fed, right? I forget his name, but somebody who has something to do with like the interest rates. So there could be a shock that way. Don't forget, folks, because I haven't been mentioning it in a long time. Remember, Bitcoin, Ethereum, like cryptocurrency, digital dollars, like keep all that in the back of your brain. Also, AI and the technology, anything with tech is Aquarius energy, inventions. So the sun going through Aquarius, right? That's all that stuff's going to be triggered, and it angles up things and people that we value, things that we're used to, things that used to give us stability. So I think jobs and maybe jobs reports with this possibly at this time as well. Could be. And Mars and Mercury, some news coming across. All right. And then around the 25th, this kind of flavors that weekend. So it's Friday going into the weekend. It's a full moon. And where will the full moon happen? In the sign of Leo. If you saw the video, you heard my take on this. It's a full moon in Leo, and it happens, I believe it's right around, I was trying to draw a number 5. It's right around 5 degrees of Leo where the full moon happens. Yeah, which means the sun will be in Aquarius at 5 degrees. So it's a big opposition up in the sky of fixed energy. And that means that, well, what else is at 5 degrees? Jupiter, right? Yeah. We know that Jupiter, and I kind of already have it drawn in because I was talking about the sun being at 5 and squaring this Jupiter, which is at 6. So it's a full moon with the sun opposing the moon. A full moon is usually an ending of some sort. And because it's in Leo energy, you got to punch in all those Leo keywords. We think of how with Leo energy can be gambling and taking risks. Well, that would apply here because it's Jupiter in Taurus. So if somebody was playing with money, if somebody was cooking the books, gambling, so it could be, maybe something with the stock market, a professional form of gambling. Some people would be insulted by that and say, hey, it's investing. Maybe it's a crypto thing. There's always some news about not the crypto product itself, but other people abusing it, right? And using it maybe for money laundering or something. But either way, Jupiter can be a judge and represent judgments. Or this could do with another public figure, Jupiter, public figures. So is Neptune, public figures. Absolutely. The sun, somebody in charge, can be a public figure. Leo, even, the Leo energy, absolutely a public figure. And I use the word public figure because this can be somebody who's a performer, someone who's in the spotlight, in the limelight, someone who literally is an actor, an actress, someone who makes music, just someone who for some reason has a platform and it's a name that a public figure. This can be somebody who once held the power of authority, once somebody who thinks they're a king, somebody who thought they were a king. You follow where I'm going with this because that is Leo energy. So there's a big T square for that. And that kind of flavors that weekend and the news for that weekend. Okay. The only other thing that I will end off with is that we still have Juno and Virgo, and Juno stays in Virgo for quite a while. This is important because Virgo is the tasks, the jobs, and the day-to-day routines. It's what we do. It's how do you fill your time up in a day? I get up, I eat, maybe I do laundry, go to work. Maybe I pick up my laundry on the way to work. Maybe I stop and get myself a coffee on the way to work. Then I get to work and then I have a job. I have a job and I have a project. I have a to-do list, right? That's Virgo energy. But it's also what I'm doing at home, like the little minutia stuff I do at home. So there's something here about the details, about the tasks, about the to-do list, and maybe something critical in the details even, something about we're trying to improve upon something. Juno is here, so there's some partnership thing. So this could be really beneficial energy if you have to, if you have coworkers where you're trying to figure out how to make something happen. This is a good time to bring up talks and communications while we have earthy Jupiter and Taurus, and while we have all this energy over here in Capricorn. There's a lot of energy to support strong, stable earth energy here, where it's like we got a long-term plan. Here's the rules. Here's the lists. Now let's get to it and let's do it. And so it's a path for success that's kind of being formulated here. So hopefully things are feeling more stable, even though the sun and Pluto are in unstable and disruptive Aquarius energy. You see? So it's a mixed bag again, but there still is a lot of very grounded energy here, which is super supportive to get things done and to think of the long term, what you're building for your future. All right. And yeah, I'll link the video below for the full moon because it's something that's being released, and find out where the 5 degrees of Leo is in your chart. And with that, it's a wrap. I will see you in the next video. And for those of you that are here and stayed here all the way to the end, thank you very, very much. I always appreciate your time. Stay warm and take care. Bye bye.